what kind of crisis makes giving up not just, well, disheartening or maybe a temporary setback, but actually unforgivable?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? It's the core challenge Joyce Vance puts out there in her book.
It's such a striking title. Giving up is unforgivable, a manual for keeping a democracy.
Right. And notice the word manual. This isn't just theory, it's meant to be practical.
Right.
A guide.
Okay, so let's dive in. Our goal today is to really get into Vance's manifesto here. We want to pull out her main points, understand the context she's writing in.
And crucially, look at the specific actions she suggests. The how-to part of the manual.
Exactly. And just so you know, you are experiencing a unique two-voice AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
We find this format really helps us synthesize things quickly and hopefully clearly for you.
Now, Vance herself.
Yeah.
People likely know her. Former U.S. attorney, teaches constitutional law. You see her on MSNBC, writes on Substack. She's got authority.
Definitely. And this book, it's clearly a reaction to current anxieties, but she frames it fundamentally as hopeful, action-oriented.
And we want this analysis to spur some thought, some reflection. That's what our Mindful Moments concept is about, which you can also find on our YouTube channel.
So let's get into the book's diagnosis. What's the situation she's addressing?
Okay, the basics first. Full title: Giving Up is Unforgivable, a Manual for Keeping a Democracy. Author Joyce Vance, Distinguished Professor at University of Alabama School of Law, published October 25, 2025.
And the genre? Well, it's political science, current affairs, civic engagement. It reads like a manifesto, really. Nonfiction, urgent.
The setting is key here. She's very specific. It's the landscape after the 2024 election.
Right. Addressing the start of a potential second Trump term, the ongoing erosion of democratic norms she perceives.
And importantly, the backdrop includes that unprecedented felony conviction of a former president. A huge moment.
She really zeroes in on the core conflict, not as some sudden implosion, but as she puts it, a slow slide toward tyranny.
A slow slide? That sounds less dramatic, but maybe more dangerous.
That's exactly her point. It's insidious. It's the kind of thing that allows complacency to set in. Burnout, too. People get exhausted.
So if you just feel despair, you might miss what's actually happening bit by bit.
Precisely. Her whole argument is aimed at fighting that fatigue. She keeps insisting the rule of law, yeah, it's been bent, definitely stressed.
But not broken. That's the crucial distinction she makes.
It's a really interesting tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does the system manage this huge thing, convicting a former president, showing the rule of law works?
Well, she's also arguing democracy is still sliding towards tyranny. How does she square that?
Well, she uses that exact paradox. The conviction itself proves the underlying structure is still strong, right?
Yeah.
The system can hold powerful people accountable.
Okay, so the potential is there.
But the sheer fact that the fight was necessary and the intense political attacks on the courts, the DOJ, all those institutions involved, that shows the fragility.
Ah, so the strength is there, but it needs constant active defense. It's not automatic.
Exactly. It requires vigilance. So the book becomes this clarion call, trying to empower people, saying, look, keeping this democracy going is a collective job. It's our responsibility.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about the structure. Even though it's a manual, it feels like there's a personal journey woven in. Vance's own story.
Yeah, she's quite open about it. It's not just facts and directives. She talks about her own shift in perspective.
How so?
Well, she admits she started out focusing almost entirely on the negative stuff. You know, the threats, the chaos, the feeling of dread, maybe?
Which is understandable, given the times.
Totally. But she realized that was actually counterproductive. Just focusing on the darkness wasn't helping. Her turning point was deciding to actively look for and talk about the strengths that still exist in American democracy.
So shifting from despair to recognizing the tools still available.
That's it, the realization that the rule of law, while under attack, was still fundamentally intact, and that it just needed people to, well, use it, defend it, activate it.
And that realization seems to power the whole manual aspect. But she doesn't just leave it at hope, does she? There's that warning. The boiling frog.
Ah, yes, the boiling frog metaphor.
Yeah.
It's central to her warning against complacency.
Let's unpack that a bit. Why is "Don't be the frog" such a potent warning in this context? What makes it stick?
Because it speaks directly to that slow slide idea we were talking about. It highlights how authoritarianism often doesn't arrive with a big crash.
Right, it's not always a sudden coup.
Exactly.
Right.
Vance argues dictators often use the appearance of legality, They use existing laws, existing procedures, but twist them to gradually dismantle checks and balances.
So the water gets hotter, slowly.
So slowly, the frog, meaning the citizen who isn't paying close attention, doesn't realize the danger until it's boiled alive.
Yeah.
The process looked legal on the surface, but the outcome is tyranny.
That's a chilling image. And it
No.
ties right back to the title, doesn't it?
Directly. She actually mentions that the phrase itself, giving up is unforgivable, was inspired by something Joe Biden said. It really cemented her core message. Apathy, resignation, just letting the water heat up, that's the real danger.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about the specific threats and, well, characters in this manual. Because she does name names, and she outlines specific plans being discussed.
She certainly does. Donald Trump is obviously presented as the catalyst for the immediate crisis she's addressing, the figurehead in many ways.
But she goes beyond just one person. She spends a lot of time on Project 2025.
Yes, and she treats it very seriously. This is important. She doesn't portray it as some fringe conspiracy theory.
Right. She presents it as a detailed, comprehensive plan put together by conservative groups and think tanks.
A plan with the explicit goal, as she analyzes it, of fundamentally reshaping the executive branch and dismantling many existing checks and balances.
So in her view, it's the practical roadmap for that slow slide we talked about.
Exactly. And she gets into specifics. For example, she really highlights the proposal to bring back something called Schedule F.
Schedule F, remind us what that is again.
It's a mechanism, a way to reclassify potentially tens of thousands of career civil service jobs normally protected from political influence, as political appointments.
Ah, so people who could be fired and replaced based on political loyalty, not expertise or experience.
That's precisely how Vance frames it. She sees Schedule F as the sort of legal camouflage for a political takeover of the nonpartisan government bureaucracy.
Back to the boiling frog again, using administrative rules to achieve a radical shift.
Yes, it's using the system's own procedures against itself in her analysis.
Yeah.
And she argues this kind of organized, detailed planning is exactly why a mobilized, equally organized citizen countermovement is so necessary.
Which brings us to the main character in her manual. It's not a politician, is it?
No, not at all. That's key to the book's empowering message.
Yeah.
The central figure, the protagonist, if you like, is the ordinary American citizen.
So shifting the focus from waiting for a leader to save the day.
To recognizing the power and, frankly, the responsibility that rests with every individual citizen. She reframes the citizen not as a passive spectator, but as an active agent.
And she kind of casts herself in a specific role too, right?
She does. She playfully, but seriously, calls herself the constitutional law professor you never knew you needed.
It's a smart framing device. It positions her as the knowledgeable guide offering practical, authoritative advice for this, well, citizen mobilization she's calling for.
And that leads right into the core of the book, the practical, actionable steps. This is where the manual part really comes alive. She moves from the why to the what you can actually do.
And it's not just vague stuff like get involved. She's specific.
Very specific. She talks about the importance of having those potentially awkward, difficult conversations with family and friends about these issues, defending democratic norms in your personal life.
And that feels very ground level.
It is. Then she talks about volunteering for causes you believe in, donating time or money. And crucially, she makes a strong case for more people running for office, especially local and state office.
That connects to another idea she uses, doesn't it? The democratic muscles.
Yes, I love that metaphor. Her argument is that civic engagement voting, volunteering, running for office, staying informed, it's like a muscle.
If you don't use it, it weakens, atrophies.
Exactly. And she suggests that maybe those local muscles, things like school boards, city councils, state legislatures, have been neglected for too long. They've atrophied.
Making them easier targets for ideological capture, maybe.
That's the implication. So rebuilding strength starts there at the local level. Exercising those muscles is critical for resisting broader challenges. It's about building institutional resilience from the bottom up.
But even with all that focus on local action, where does she place the ultimate emphasis?
At the end of the day, she still points to the ballot box as the single most powerful tool. Voting is framed as the primary arena, the most direct way to, as she puts it, challenge the bully.
So all these actions feed into making that vote more informed, more impactful.
Right. It all culminates in her final call, the need to form a sustained counter-movement. Not just a temporary surge for one election, but something ongoing, decentralized, and relentless.
Moving people from just being aware or anxious to actually doing things consistently.
Exactly. Sustained engagement. And another key element she weaves throughout is that phrase she uses a lot, "we're in this together."
Simple but powerful, reinforces the collective aspect.
It emphasizes that individual actions, while important, gain their real power when they're part of a shared effort. It's about collective responsibility for the health of the democracy.
And stylistically, how does she pull all this together? The personal bits, the legal analysis, the call to action?
The style is very direct. It's conversational. Even though she's dealing with complex legal and political ideas, it feels motivational.
Yeah.
She blends her own story that shifts from near resignation to determined hope with sharp analysis and very practical advice.
Making constitutional law feel urgent, accessible.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. She makes it feel like something that directly impacts your life and something you can actually influence.
And how's the book been received so far?
Very positively from what we've seen. It's been described as a hopeful manifesto, praised for being relentlessly optimistic, despite the grim warnings. Reviews highlight that balance, acknowledging the real threats, but offering an empowering, concrete way forward. People seem to be responding to that mix of urgency and agency.
Okay, so let's try to boil this down. What's the core takeaway for someone listening?
I think the main thing is how Vance reframes the narrative. She takes that pervasive political anxiety so many people feel and tries to channel it into actionable hope.
Instead of just doom scrolling, do something.
Pretty much. Her core message is that the power to protect and preserve democracy doesn't rest with some far-off leaders. It rests with consistent collective action by regular citizens, starting local, thinking long-term, and showing up.
It definitely leaves you with something to think about, which leads to our final thought for you, the listener, based on her ideas.
If democratic health really is like a muscle, as Vance suggests,
What's one practical, maybe even small, daily or weekly exercise you're willing to commit to, starting now, to help keep that muscle strong?
something concrete to consider. We really hope this deep dive helped you get a handle on this important book and maybe spark some of your own mindful moments.
Yeah, if this breakdown of Joyce Vance's manual was helpful, please do subscribe and share this analysis. It helps others find it.
And you can find a link to purchase the book in the description if you're interested in reading it yourself.
But above all, whatever you take away from this, we encourage you to continue to think critically about the world around you.